So my dad was born in Croatia. At the time, it was the former Yugoslavia, and it was a communist country. And during the 1950s, Yugoslavia was a very, very poor place. And on top of that, it was run in a very heavy-handed dictatorship style by the dictator of Yugoslavia, a guy named Tito, who, for people who are from there during that era, they have no kind words to say about him. He really, ran the country with an iron fist. And so for my dad, it was a really difficult time as a kid because he knew there was really no economic situation there was nothing to look forward to. The economic situation was very bleak. There was no real good career that you could look forward to. And then to make matters worse, being in a dictatorship, it was very much a type of thing where the only way you could advance within the country was to either join the Communist Party or, really sadly to say, be kind of a person who spied on your neighbors. And so you never knew, who your real friends were and who they weren't, because people would turn each other in, and it was just not a really good place. And so he decided at a very young age that he wanted to leave. And he was 15 years old, and he had gathered with a group of his friends from his village, and they all got on a boat to go to Italy. One of those people was actually his sister. So it was his sister and a bunch of friends. I think there were some cousins on there as well. And they were going to go out to sea from Zadar. They went into Zadar and they were going to leave from Zadar, which is the city closest to his island. And while they were waiting to go, they were underneath the boat, and there was only one or two guys on the top. And a friend of theirs came up to the boat and said, "Hey, it's kind of early in the morning. Where are you guys going? Are you guys going to escape?" And the guys were like, "No." And everybody underneath was actually laughing. It was kind of almost funny to them that these guys had totally pegged it. Well, what happened was one of the guys that was escaping with them had told his mother that he was going to come by for lunch, and he never showed up. I'm not quite sure why he told her that, but he told her that she was going to. So she figured she would bring his sandwich to work. So she went and brought a sandwich to work, and when she got there, they said, "No, he told us he was coming to visit you." And because the stories didn't match up, they very quickly figured out that there was something afoot. There was a lot of people at the time who were escaping. It wasn't very common. People wanted to get out of the country, not just Yugoslavia, but a lot of the Eastern Bloc countries. People were escaping every day. So they quickly figured out that he was probably leaving. And they alerted the authorities, and now the police were going to come out after them, the Yugoslavian Navy. And so what happened was, my dad and his friends, when they were leaving, they realized that if they took a direct route to Italy, if they were found out, that's where the Navy ships would go looking for them. So what they did was they went up north. They didn't cut across. They went up north and hugged the coast for a long way. And on the top of the boat, they had shovels and dirt and cement and things to make it look like it was a workboat. And they went up a ways, and then they cut across. And so the Navy never found them. But on the way there, they started needing help to get pulled into shore. And there was a couple of Italian fishing boats that went by. And the first one that went by, they were like waving to him, trying to get him to help. They just kept going. They wouldn't stop to help them. The second one did, and like pulled them in by rope and pulled them into shore. And then when they got to shore, my dad says there was people who were waiting for them that he thinks might have been actually refugees themselves, because he says there was a group of older ladies that were like crying like babies when they saw them. They were so overcome with emotion at seeing these young people having arrived in Italy. And so my dad arrived in Italy, and he was put into a refugee camp, and he spent 4 years in refugee camps before coming to the United States. A year before he got here, he had the chance to go to Australia, but he really, really wanted to hold out hope and go to the United States. So he finally had to decide. They were like, "Look, you gotta pick. You gotta go somewhere. You can't stay here forever." And so he was on his way, ready to go to Australia, had his papers signed, when he found out that he could go to the United States. But the problem was all his papers were now at the consulate in Rome. And he was in a refugee camp outside of Rome, and he was stuck. So he found a way to get to that consulate, get his papers back, and turn them in. And the United States did accept him, and because of that, he was able to come. And he came to San Pedro, where he had an aunt, and then has lived here ever since.